This movie revealed so much, it appears Hollywood made sure you never heard of it. Not because it was a bad movie, but because of what it suggests about gaining power in our world. Even though it was greenlit by 20th Century Fox and backed by massive studio resources, The Empty Man's release was mysteriously sabotaged out of nowhere. The film had zero marketing, no press, and very limited distribution. But what was so dangerous that Hollywood had to bury this movie? Once you see what they were trying to hide, you will understand exactly why they would likely not want this movie to exist. In The Empty Man, we follow an investigator named James who is looking into the disappearance of a young girl. When she vanished, she left a mysterious message behind in her bathroom that read, "The empty man made me do it." James has no idea what this could mean and starts searching her room for clues. He eventually discovers a flyer for a group called the Pontifex Institute with the word TOPA written on the back. Make sure you remember this detail because the concept of a TOPA is gonna be really important as we go on. The investigation leads them to the missing girl's friend, Devara, who reveals they were trying to summon an entity known as the Empty Man. She explains there's only one specific way to do it. You must find an empty bottle under a bridge, blow into it, and then think of the Empty Man. James makes his way to the exact bridge, finds the empty bottle, and proceeds to blow in it. Shortly after, he makes a gruesome discovery. He finds the missing girl's friends left on display under the bridge as a warning. Connecting the flyer to the Empty Man, James starts digging deeper into the organization. He discovers they are a cult with beliefs originating from places like Bhutan, specifically focusing on Tulpa. He tracks down the organization and absorbs one of their gatherings, where he learns they worship the entity because it promises to give them anything they want in exchange for absolute obedience and offerings. As James investigates further, he becomes a target. After a series of intense encounters with the cult, he manages to capture one of the members. He interrogates him and learns that a man at a local hospital acts as the Empty Man's physical speaker. He finds the missing girl along with the speaker. This is where the movie completely flips everything. She tells James that the cult members visit this man to communicate with the entity. She tells James that he is a Tulpa. A Tulpa is a being that is manifested using collective consciousness. James never actually existed. While he was a real person, he was created by the group's imagination and brought into the world using the manifestation ceremony. After they literally created him from nothing, they needed to hollow him out. So they created a fake life story about losing his wife to fill him with grief and despair in order to make him empty inside. This way, the deity the group followed could insert himself into the Empty Man. He is the new vessel engineered for the being. The tragedy, anger, and grief in his life were engineered specifically to make him the perfect host to connect with the Empty Man. He finds himself back in the hospital room where he eliminates the previous speaker and takes his place. As he stands there, the hospital staff surrounds him and bows. He becomes permanently bound as the new vessel for the nameless entity. The release of The Empty Man is one of the strangest events in modern cinema history. The project was completely shelved by Disney after they merged with 20th Century Fox. It was reported that the studio executives had little interest in promoting a movie that contained these themes. Disney delayed the completed project for 3 whole years. To fulfill contractual obligations they had with the producers, they quietly dumped the film into empty theaters in October 2020 with virtually zero marketing. The singular trailer released for the film deliberately misrepresented the plot as a generic teen slasher. It seemed like this movie was effectively buried. Why would a studio invest millions into a high-profile project only to hide it from the public? When you look at the movie, you can see exactly why they sabotaged the film. It wasn't that the movie was bad. It eventually got good reviews from critics. The reason most people know nothing about this movie may be because it was too revealing. By giving the film a quiet limited release, they could technically say it came out, while ensuring that as few people as possible actually saw the message hidden inside. It was a strategic silence designed to let the film fade into obscurity. But why throw away millions of dollars? When you understand the message hidden in this film, you will see why they likely turned on the project at the very last minute. Originally, the studio was promoting this movie like another horror slasher, but the writers were crafting a complex story that crossed boundaries those in Hollywood weren't comfortable with. There are 3 reasons that likely caused the suppression of this movie. The biggest reason has to be what the Empty Man was meant to represent. When you look at how the Empty Man operates within the film, you start to understand why a big studio would consider this project a massive liability. In the movie, The organization does not just follow the empty man for guidance. They do it because he grants them power, money, and influence. The members make offerings and completely submit to him in every way. In return, the empty man grants them whatever their heart desires. The movie presents the idea that ultimate success is acquired through exclusive groups and hidden ceremonies. This is not just a creative concept written for a movie plot. If you look back through history, you will find reported accounts of ancient organizations engaging in this exact same practices. According to the Old Testament and confirmed by modern archaeology, there are extensive records of groups making offerings to specific historical entities. It was believed these specific forces and deities granted immense financial wealth and societal power in exchange for absolute allegiance and often a physical offering. In this movie, this practice lives on in the modern world. It presents the most influential individuals gaining their power through these same ancient methods. The movie visualizes the idea that the rich and powerful belong to an exclusive group that serves an otherworldly force who grants them everything. You can see why a massive film studio would have issues releasing this movie. Think about why a film that questions how power is really acquired will make studios uncomfortable. The second reason this film was likely suppressed has to do with how the organization within the story controls its followers and the public. In the film, the organization doesn't just recruit members like other groups. They actively manipulate the collective consciousness to control people without their knowledge. They use specific psychological triggers to manifest ideas into reality. When the missing girl writes, "The empty man made me do it," on her bathroom mirror, it's not just a spooky movie trope. The movie is showing us how a powerful organization can plant a directive so deeply into someone's mind that they can carry out horrific acts without ever realizing they're being controlled. The whole time, the organization was guiding James' mind, and he had no idea. He thought he was investigating a missing person, when in reality, they were subliminally leading him exactly where they wanted him. By the end of the movie, they not only recruited him, they took over his body. This movie shows us the terrifying concept of groups using advanced physical operations to direct the behavior of the masses. The film portrays a system built to make people do exactly what the organization wants, all while keeping them completely unaware that they are following a script. The third reason this movie was likely shelved for so long lies in the actual names and concepts it chose to expose to a mainstream audience. Specifically the organization's name, the Pontifex Institute, and their use of the concept of tulpa. If you look into the documented history of these terms, you quickly realize the writers were not just making up scary words. The term tulpa has a very real history originating in Tibetan mysticism and was later heavily studied by Western esoteric researchers. Historically, a tulpa is defined as a being or reality created entirely through sheer mental discipline and collective belief. It is the literal concept of manifesting thought into physical reality. Then you have the word pontifex. This is an ancient Latin term that translates directly to bridge builder. Throughout history, it was a title used by high priestess in ancient Rome to signify someone who built a bridge between the physical world and unseen forces. When you put these two documented historical concepts together, you see exactly what the movie is showing us. The Pontifex Institute is an organization acting as a bridge builder, using the focused collective consciousness of its followers to manifest a tulpa, bringing an engineered reality into the physical world through a human vessel. The movie introduces the audience to the historical esoteric concept that reality is not fixed, exposing the public to the documented history of thought manifestation and ancient bridge building concepts is a boundary mainstream entertainment is designed to avoid. The film took real historical esoteric practices and showed exactly how a group could theoretically use them to manipulate reality, which is why it was ultimately buried. The Empty Man was promoted to the public as a standard supernatural horror film, but its failed theatrical run was not an accident. When you look at the complete picture of the story, it becomes obvious why a big studio would sabotage the project. The film takes the concept of ancient offerings, combines it with the manipulation of a collective consciousness, and wraps it in the documented esoteric history of thought manifestation. Within the context of the story, it gives the audience a visual representation of how a fictional organization uses psychological control to shape perception for its own gain. The movie invites the audience to question everything they know. This movie reminds me so much of another movie that seemed to have shared the same fate. The movie Under the Silver Lake told a very similar story, and for some reason faced the same resistance. In that movie, The most influential people belong to a hidden group who secretly use coded messages in music, movies, and advertisements. If you want to know why it seems like they try to erase that movie, watch this video right now. If you want to further support the channel, join me on Patreon. I just released a new exclusive video about a rapper who reveals why he left the music industry. You're not gonna want to miss that one. When you join, you get immediate access to this video and over 60 exclusive videos. Another way to support the channel is to subscribe so you don't miss any of these important breakdowns. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.